Welcome back to Chico and the Grin, episode 7.
Yes.
This is Chico.
The Grin.
And we're here for another episode. And boy, do we have some stuff to talk about today.
Yes, the world is getting
Grin.
intense.
We were just talking off air for a second.
Yeah.
We're talking about dinosaurs today. We're talking about Walmart.
Yes.
And the government. We're talking about Trump.
Yep.
We have a lot of ground to cover.
A lot of stuff is going on.
All right, where do you want to start?
Let's start with dinosaurs.
Let's pick your favorite thing. Dinosaurs. All right.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna ruin my childhood, but I'm ready.
No. Let's wait for a
Should we ease into it?
Yeah, let's talk about some art.
All right, let's talk about some art. All right, so you got a chance to go to the MetroCard art fair, right? The $1 MetroCard.
Yes. One what?
Was it $1?
No, it was just MetroCard.
Oh, I thought we mentioned that there was a $1 thing.
Oh no. It's actually called the Single Fair.
Single Fair. That's what it was.
Single Fair, and it was an art show. Basically, people not only painted but sketched, painted, sculpted all on the MetroCards. I mean, it was everything from like stuff that was bedazzled. There was one MetroCard that was built to look like a fidget spinner.
Whoa.
There was collages of MetroCards to make up a painting. There was photographs, I guess, rescanned somehow and imposed onto MetroCards. I mean, it was pretty much any and every type of art form you could think about put into a MetroCard. There's people who sliced up MetroCards to make like a mosaic picture. It was dope.
But question, did anybody make a dick out of a MetroCard?
Not that I saw.
Then they fucked up.
Yeah, they lost it. I know that's what you're a fan of.
They missed
they
missed an opportunity to draw a dick with a MetroCard.
They could have. But
one overpriced dick.
The thing that really got to me was just like the amount of creativity some of these people put into their ideas.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not easy to draw on a small form. You know, like I do sketch cards every now and then, and I love drawing sketch cards because it's challenging of just drawing on something that small. But a MetroCard, it's not an easy surface. So you gotta, I guess prime it. You know, you gotta put some type of texture down so you can paint on it.
Because they're super slick.
Man, there was one person. And none of this stuff had the people's names listed. It was kind of like anonymous if you wanted to buy it.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like they just had numbers, and if you wanted to buy it, they had a set price, and you just bought it.
I wonder if there were really big artists there. That's why.
There was a separate table for like I'm doing air quotes, but well-known, established artists. They had their own table where there was a raffle to buy their pieces. But I wasn't impressed with those pieces. I was impressed with the anonymous artwork. One person in particular, they did sculptures on top of MetroCards. And that was amazing. Like straight up amazing.
What were the sculptures made out of?
Looked like plaster.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked like plaster. I think I'm pulling up the Instagram feed just so you can see like how many were here. But it was amazing, man. Like look at all these. You know?
That's pretty nuts.
Yeah. It was intense. You know, and I caught it the last day that it was going on. I believe it was Sunday. Me and my girl did like an art walk around the city.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was cool. Did the Highline too. And I think this event was sponsored by the Highline as well because I think the gallery that they were at had some connection with the Highline Gallery. Oh, and the Highline Walk.
Sounds fancy.
New York.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was a good event. And then we checked out the cloisters.
That's the Met's my favorite, but I live very close to them to cloisters. Yeah. So I'm literally like a 5-minute walk away from it.
Okay.
I mean, if you count.
You been to Mama Juana?
Yeah, I go to all those restaurants, and now everybody knows where I live, John. No, yeah, I mean that whole area is cool, but like the cloisters is probably like a lot of people don't realize how cool it is up there. If you have a membership to the Met, or if you just want to do a cool thing, go to Fort Tryon Park at Inwood in Manhattan. Go up to the cloisters. It's medieval Christian art, but it's really cool. Like it's kind of scary, kind of creepy. Really? Like I have when I went the last time I went, I took a bunch of photos and I like made a little Facebook album of just the artwork that I saw. Okay. And I was looking through it. And I'm like, some of the faces of those little sculptures, like in the wooden ones, like I forget where it was, but there was it was like a cabinet and it folds out. Okay. And it's inside is all sculptures of like 6 scary people. And there's Jesus in the middle trying to heal them. It's fucking terrifying. But if you look at their faces, they all look gaunt and like they're dying of like leprosy and shit. I'm just like, oh god, it's Christianity, and it's cool. Especially the garden area is a great place to take photos. Something like that. Yeah, he's showing me something.
I'm holding up a picture of something I took that was like
it was like a tablet.
heavily detailed.
Yeah, there's a lot of detailed sculptures. Yeah, like and there's a room with the room that had all the busts of the faces.
Yes.
Also, it freaks me out. Christian art in general just scares me.
Huh.
It terrifies me.
I want to go back, but I want to go back when, because right now it's like summer, fall type.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back in the winter.
Oh, to get the full creepy effect of Christianity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always gone when it's during the summer or during the spring when the trees are out and it's sunny and it's nice.
I want to see that.
If I go there during the winter, I'll probably slip into a depression and throw myself off the bridge.
Like my girl, she was like, "Oh, I like it out here. It's all nice and pretty and
Until
warm."
it's gray and cold and windy.
That's exactly what I saw. She's like, "Why you want to see the winter?" It's like, "Yo,
I'll go with you in the winter."
New York has this vibe when it gets cold and all the buildings they get gritty. Like it looks like Gotham City and the steam and all that shit. I was like, "That's
you know what would be
come
cool?
to the
if you
the
go
castle."
If you go outside in the balcony area they have that faces the water in the like the winter or the fall, when all the trees lose their leaves, you can see the George Washington Bridge through all these broken leaves. It's kind of cool. Usually I see it, like not leaves, branches. Usually I go during the summer and I can see the way the trees are set up, there's just enough gap where you can see through the leaves and it perfectly outlines the George Washington Bridge. But during the winter, when all the leaves go away, it's just like a whole slew of just broken branches and stuff. And it like frames the George Washington Bridge. It's kind of weird.
I wanted to let me sketch there the way I could sketch at the Met.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It should, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to just walk around with like a little book, doodling and shit.
That's a good place because it's all sculptures and stuff. So you you can really sit there and enjoy what you're drawing.
At first, I was like, I stepped in there and I'm like, well, the architecture was something else, right? The way it was set up.
It's a castle.
Yeah, but you see like the typical religious artwork, but then as I go around and I'm seeing like this is like a legit castle. Yeah. And then I see like all the sculptures and there was that one room that had like all the collectibles type stuff. And I was like, that room I loved a lot.
That whole museum's great. And a lot of people don't realize that it's part of the Met. So if you go to the Met and you buy whatever you donate, you can go up to the cloisters that same day.
Oh, they're all included.
Yeah, it's all included. Oh. So if you go to the cloisters and you pay the donation or whatever, and you get a little sticker, you can go down to the Met and go in. Dope. You have you have a sticker.
Tomorrow I'm gonna go check the brewer.
Oh, the Met Brewer?
Yeah. And, see what they got going on.
I haven't been there since the Diane Arbus exhibition at the beginning of the year.
I didn't go there for that. Last time I was there was Jeff Koons. That was cool. I think a lot of his stuff is overrated.
Yep. You see the Jeff Koons thing that Jay-Z's taking on tour with him? No. He has a giant pop-up. I think it's
like the silver dog or some shit.
Like silver bunny or something.
Yeah. They had it at the museum.
Yeah, they have it.
He had his phases, Yeah. You could definitely tell, like, he was talented, but I could see like when he was an artist and then like showed like the stuff he did for companies. I was like, yeah, because you're just like me. You're an artist, but you got to make a living. You know.
Yep. I've been really into Keith Haring lately. I don't know why.
Why was that?
I don't know. I just and by lately I mean like last month. Yeah. My new job doesn't let me surf the internet as often, but I don't know. I went in like this deep dive for like 3 weeks, and all I was doing was watching videos on Keith Haring, reading about him, looking at his art, and just I don't know what it is.
Let me ask you this regarding Haring, and this also includes Basquiat, but do you enjoy the fact that now all their work is being licensed out in merchandise
to Uniqlo
on everyone who can afford the license?
So
from sneakers to
here's the
all
thing.
Types of bullshit.
I was talking to somebody about that recently.
I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it too. But so for example, I try not to judge all those artists like Basquiat, Haring, and Warhol. Like they're not of the same generation, but they're all lumped together during that prime New York City kind of art scene, right? Yeah. Even though they're one's in the 60s, 70s, one's in the 80s, and 90s, right? Yeah. I think if Warhol was still alive and saw all his stuff like at Uniqlo, I don't think he would care. I think he'd be like, "This is great. I'm making lots of money." If Basquiat saw it, I don't think he'd be upset either. I think he'd be like,
he would.
I don't think he would. I think he'd be like, well,
Until from what I was told, one of his uncles or aunts had all the rights to his property, to his estate. When he died, that's when all his stuff was up for sale.
Right.
That's when they started merchandise, because he was against all of that. Like if you read his artwork, like the poems and the writings he has, he was against all this stuff.
Yeah. See, my only thing is like you've seen his documentary, right?
Which one?
The Sunflower.
No.
So there's a documentary. I forget the name.
I really don't like his work that much.
Me either, to be honest. But it seems like because he was a huge fan of Warhol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the reason why I say that he wouldn't care is because I don't think Warhol would care. And he seems to very much emulate like the lifestyle of Warhol once he made it. Once he became Basquiat.
Yeah.
Herring, I'm tempted to say, would not like to see his work that way because his work was very simple. His work, he would give it away. His work was, if you watch any documentary on Herring, I'm sure they'll show when he was drawing his stuff in the subway on those black panels with chalk.
He got arrested.
Yeah. He would paint it on walls and just walk away. Like, I don't think Herring was one of those people that I don't think was in it for the money. He was in it because he genuinely had something to communicate, as opposed to Warhol, who was very much pop culture money. And if I've read Warhol's autobiography, and it seems like he's very much consumed with having a certain status position and having people think about him a certain way and look at him like he was very particular about the way he dressed,
the wigs and all that stuff.
Herring wore a t-shirt and jeans. He wore a shirt with no sleeves and jorts.
Jorts.
Yeah, I'm wearing jorts right now. And look at their artwork. Their artwork is very different. Herring's very simple outlines. I mean, it's complex in a way, but it's also very simple. It's thick black lines that make shapes. Warhol did all sorts of, he dabbled in all mediums of art, but it was very complex things that he made. I mean, the Campbell Soup thing, the Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley not monograms, the 4x and stuff.
He was just the first one to do it.
Yeah.
But his artwork ain't shit.
Right. But even Basquiat's artwork, like, it's simple in a way, but it's also complicated. But
I would say that,
it's simple. Like it seems like he was just sketched.
But there was thought about. There was thought.
But it wasn't like a complex process to do. Herring,
but he wasn't a genius,
right? But Herring, I think, was a genius because Herring's all his work was off the cuff. There was never a pre-sketch. There was never a concept that he was doing before he started. He would literally have a blank canvas or whatever he was painting on, a paintbrush or a piece of chalk, and he would just go. And he'd have to do it off the top of his head.
And those characters had life.
Yes. Yeah. Look at Herring's work, and you can tell, like, the dog, everything. It looks like they have, they're breathing, they have emotion. And I think that's what separates Herring from a lot of, like, I have a friend who's very much into Keith Haring. And his name's Mark. He's a photographer too, but he's a huge Herring fan, huge, and he's always posting about Herring. He has a lot of Herring memorabilia, clothing, stuff like that, and artwork with Herrings of Herrings. And every time I see it, I think maybe he was part of the reason why I like dive so deep because everybody knows who Keith Haring is, but you don't really know about Keith Haring or know who he is or his artwork in depth. So I spent like a good 3 weeks just learning about him and reading about him.
It's a lot.
Yeah, there was an interview he did because everybody knows he died of AIDS.
Yeah.
He was gay. And there was a piece, I forget the interview, I saw it on YouTube, but he spoke about how his art changed when he realized he might have AIDS. He never got tested. He knew he had a lot of close friends who died of it, and he pretty much said that he felt like he had it. He felt like he knew he had it, and his artwork changed when he realized that. And you can see it in the artwork he made after that. A lot of it was like the dog became kind of like a monster, and it was eating things and destroying things. And he talks about how he realized that through his art he was able to start kind of coming to terms with the fact that he has this disease and he's not going to make it out alive. Because, of course, back then, the medication for HIV and AIDS was not what it is today.
You're fucked.
Yeah. Pretty much back then, it was a death sentence. And, I mean, back then, it was widely just considered a gay disease.
Yeah.
That whole scene back then in New York City with the gay scene and, just go watch Scorpio. You don't got to listen to me talk about it. I wasn't alive back then, but.
I'm sure somebody's going to send us a fucking hate email. What does two straight guys know about this shit?
Listen. I learned everything I know about gay people.
And stop sending Gomez
from Al Pacino
the email that y'all hate about stuff that I say, please.
Actually, continue to do that. I like to read them.
You're just gonna send it to me anyway.
Yeah, we encourage if you have any comments on anything about the show that you like or you dislike, email us at chicoandthegrin@gmail.com. We would love to hear. We'll read it on the air.
Yes.
If you don't want us to read it, just say you don't want us
to read it on the air anyway.
We might, depending on how much alcohol we've had. But we want to hear from you, whether you like it or not, whether you like us or not. We want to hear what your opinion, because, you know, if you have some good input, we would take it to heart and maybe, you know, we're always open. That's the one thing me and the Grin always have in common, is that we're always open to having our opinions change, because nothing's in stone. So,
perfect segue to dinosaurs.
Yes. So dinosaurs. Why don't you tell us a little bit about dinosaurs?
Speaking of being open to change and accepting new ideas, so you know, Instagram is a wonderful social media application, right?
Plenty of hot chicks on Instagram.
That too. Yes, that too. But so I came across something the other day that really took me through, took me down a rabbit hole. And at first I was like, okay, whatever, it's another crazy conspiracy theory, but this one wasn't really a conspiracy theory. This is actual science.
Discovery Channel science.
Yeah, it was a little video about the Discovery. It was from the Discovery Channel, and I found the link for it, which I guess I'll add it in the show notes. But it talks about the dinosaurs that we love are fake, and the meaning of that.
Why are you doing this to me?
And they go through it in a video. They were saying how, for one, the information that started, because first people didn't even believe in dinosaurs until like up to a certain year where they actually found the dinosaurs. Before that point, nobody ever thought about giant monsters roaming the earth.
Right.
Now, a lot of dinosaurs that we think existed never existed. Like the was it the Brontosaurus was one of the ones that said Triceratops, Brontosaurus, and some of the flying, not pterodactyls, but some of the versions of the pterodactyl, I guess, never actually existed. And the reason they say this because, well, for starters, the main paleontologist who made the discoveries was wrong. He lied about a lot of things. It wasn't until later where other paleontologists and archaeologists made other discoveries that they find out that, well, shit, we were wrong all these years, and the information that we built our careers on was wrong. We have evidence that contradicts everything that we believed. And it's not to say that dinosaurs didn't exist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the information that they had on majority of dinosaurs that we see in Jurassic Park and these other movies is inaccurate.
Right. Well, that's the beautiful thing about science. It's self-correcting, right? So these guys discovered these fossils or whatever, and they say this. They make all these discoveries, and they try their best at the time to piece everything together. But as time goes on, technology gets better. We're able to see things from a different perspective. Yes. And, with the scientific community, they're very good. I believe they're very good at self-correcting and being like, we fucked up. Sometimes. Like, we fucked up. This is not what we thought.
When it comes to Egypt, they don't correct shit.
Especially, right, that's true. Especially when, it comes to things that they've been teaching for generations in public school.
Yep.
Right, because we all learned about dinosaurs when we were kids, right? Triceratops, everybody picks their favorite dinosaur. You make a fucking dinosaur out of a paper plate, and then you give it to your mom, and she pretends she likes it, and she puts it on the fridge. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise. It surprises me, but I'm open. It is, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change like anything.
No.
Right? Because dinosaurs. I mean, as long as the T-Rex and the raptor existed, I'm still happy.
It's like I always knew when I went to a museum that this is based on theory, and from that video that I watched, it definitely confirms that, because they were saying that they never actually found a complete dinosaur skeleton.
Did they find any in the Bronx?
No, none in the Bronx. Mostly in Montana. But it's like they find like skulls, and it's not even like a bunch of skulls, 100 skulls. They found like a handful of skulls.
Right.
And they just go from there. It's like, okay, well, here's a skull. How do we think the body looked? How do we think the rest of it grew, or the size of it? And it's all theory.
Yeah, it's all assumptions.
It's just like, wow. And the video it was just cool to see, because it was from a reliable source. They weren't just saying, oh, this is bad or this didn't exist. It's not in the Bible. No bullshit like that. He was just saying, like, hey, science, we fucked up all these years. We were wrong.
Yeah. I mean, you see that with every field, though. Like, even recently, who was it? I want to say it was Discovery Channel, too. they put out that thing where they said that Columbus wasn't the first European to make it to the Americas.
I thought it was the Vikings.
It was the Vikings.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I knew that.
And then they went to Canada,
Yeah.
to Newfoundland, and they found real artifacts buried. Like they did a whole excavation of an area, and they found real evidence that Scandinavian people made it across on their boats, on their Viking boats, without like the Mayflower.
Yeah.
In comparison, the Mayflower was a very more modern ship.
Well, I have a book that's called "They Came Before Columbus," and it talks about how mostly Egyptians and I think Southern Africans and more towards the Ethiopian area sailed to South America.
Yeah, you have to imagine that if you're a civilization that's capable of making a boat and creating a vessel that's seaworthy, that eventually somebody's going to get a boat and just be like, let me just keep going into the direction that there's no land, and maybe I'll find some land, right? And then you hit North America, South America, anywhere else. Or maybe the worst case is you just go around the world and you end up back where you started. Yeah. And you realize, well, I'm fucking whatever.
The book I was referring to was called "They Came Before Columbus: The African Presence in Ancient America" by Ivan Van Sertima. It was good. It was a good book.
And I'm pretty skeptical about a lot of stuff like this, but when you look at ancient cultures and they all share a lot of the same basic, the foundations of hieroglyphics and
architecture,
symbolism and architecture, you have to wonder, somebody must have gone from one place to another at some point, even if it's just one person, and spread that idea, because there's too many similarities between countries that are so far away that for it to be a coincidence. There has to be something. Somebody must have traveled, aliens or humans on boats. Something must have happened where the culture shared. In
this one book in particular, they talk about, because this mostly deals with Mexico down to South America,
which is fascinating.
And they talk about the Olmecs, of course, which is a black civilization and black tribe. And this doesn't mean African; it just means black, dark as fuck,
dark skin,
right? Yeah. And there's melanated people all over the place, even the original Aborigines of Australia, black as fuck. Black Indians, black Chinese. But they were talking about there was a land, an island of blacks that did not want any type of connection to anybody else, and how they wore white robes and all this stuff. It was cool.
I feel like, that would resonate pretty hardcore today.
I think, but see, this is why I always go towards those books. It's you can hear a lot of stuff out there, oh, this is that, blah, blah, blah. But just give me a resource and I'll check it out for myself. Yeah. And that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, you can sit there and say whatever you want from the Bible, but show me some definitive proof.
Don't even get me started on that, please. Don't.
And I'm not against Bible bangers, but it's just, cause I say I'm not against them just because you can believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. Right. But it's I need more proof than just the Bible. That's like me taking the Odyssey and saying this is the greatest book ever written. I'm gonna live my life according to the Odyssey. You know what, though? The Odyssey's probably closer to reality than the Bible is. It's what the fuck? Oh, well, people fucking crazy. What's it called? So, fucking dinosaurs. Yeah, that's a shocker. Right. So, you were telling me earlier that the whole meteor theory didn't make sense to you. Well, it never did. Just like the Big Bang. I don't believe in the Big Bang. You don't believe in the Big Bang? No. We talked about this. It was episode 1, right? One of those. It was because it just doesn't make sense. Out of nothing came something that's bullshit. Right. I don't believe in that. Listening to recently, and they were talking about that. So many people believe in that. I don't believe in that shit. Maybe it was just me listening to our episode. I have the vaguest memory of listening to people talk about the beginnings of the universe. Maybe it was on Joe Rogan's. How the hell can any human being talk about the beginning of the universe? How is that even possible? Well, it's not that we're talking about it, it's that we've observed through telescopes, because the further you look into space with a telescope, yes, it hasn't reached it, so you're looking into the past, and they can see the rotations and the origins. Yeah. So you can see far enough back, and then you have to use math, which is beyond my ability to understand. All theory. Right. How it happened. All theory. But it still makes that as crazy as that sounds, that still makes more sense to me than some dude being like, yo, let me turn this monkey into a human and give it anxiety. But see, that story of turning this monkey into a hunter and gatherer makes more sense if you just said, well, this person wasn't a god, but this person was a scientist from another fucking planet. Yes, I'll take that too. Just like we have scientists and fucking astronauts that go to other planets. Who knows what experiments they're doing over there? Right. So
No, I'm not. Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
absolutely.
But to sit there and say,
but we can't prove that either.
No, exactly.
That's the problem. So we can't prove aliens, right? We can't prove that there's an alien from another planet from wherever that showed up and turned a monkey into us.
Yeah.
But it's more likely, or that rather that the theory of evolution makes more sense right now until an alien shows up. And if an alien shows up,
but see,
I'd be like, even we fucking.
But I can get behind a theory of evolution. But what I can't get behind is the Big Bang theory, that out of nothing came something.
Well, it's not that. Yeah, no, you're right.
That's what it is. It's out of nothing came something.
It bothers me too.
So
it bothers me too. If I find the thing that I'm thinking of that I watched, it was a physicist talking about the Big Bang and trying to explain how it's not. Who was it? No, it was definitely on it was on Joe Rogan. It was the weird tall white guy. I forget his name. It was within the last.
Not the guy that comes on with Graham Hancock.
No. It was after that. There's another guy. He's a physicist. He's a theoretical physicist at, I think, North Carolina University.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, he was there recently. He's maybe within the last 2 months he was on the show.
Okay,
even though
I'll look for it.
Even though Joe Rogan puts out like 6 episodes a week because he's fucking crazy. He was talking. He was trying to explain to Joe, like, because Joe said the same thing we said. He's like, but how from nothing, like just static, boom, and he explained it, and it made sense enough for me to be like, okay, I can believe it.
He sold you water. That's what he did.
He said it in a way. He made it. He sold it. He explained it in a way.
He sold water to a whale.
Possibly. He may have. He may have.
That's what he did.
He might have. But it made sense. Like, I thought about it, and I was like, because it's all about chemistry, really. At that point, it's all about molecules and things getting too close to each other. But then that brings me to the question, who created the chemistry?
As I said, you can't have nothing and then have something.
Right. I guess the greatest question of all is, what created the first thing ever?
Yes. Like I went to
and did it just exist?
See, years ago I went to the Natural History Museum here in New York.
We all fucked up now.
And they have the observatory where they do like this presentation, and it's like Whoopi Goldberg's doing the narration, and it's like, blah 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 blah, it's darkness. Boom, the big, and it's cool. It's a cool little video, and not the observatory, planetarium. That's what it's called.
Planetarium, yeah.
And it's a cool video, but I was like, how the hell are you gonna have a blank ass nothingness? It's like the nothingness from Never Ending Story.
Yep.
Right? And then all of a sudden you're going to have something. It's like, what? I remember years ago.
His name's Sean Carroll.
Okay.
It's episode 1003 from the Joe Rogan Experience. His name is Sean Carroll. He is I believe he's not physical therapist. He's a physicist, and he explains the theory of how the Big Bang happened. He's very smart. They talk about a variety of things. It's one of those episodes of Joe Rogan where he has somebody on that's so smart that you need to take breaks. You need to go drink water, and you need to go have a snack and be like, I burnt all the calories in my body from trying to understand what you're saying. So I'm going to go get a snack. I'm going to come back. I'm going to sit down, realize that I'm not ready, go make a pot of coffee, and come back and try. Like, I watched the episode twice.
Wow.
And I barely understand. This guy is so much smarter than Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
I think, or maybe it's not that he's smarter. Maybe it's better that Neil deGrasse Tyson is better at explaining to a layperson like myself.
Yeah. That's why he wrote that book.
This guy went into some fucking quasar shit and explaining the difference. Like, he went into the point of explaining atoms and why like the way atoms are drawn on when they're trying to teach you about physics, why they're wrong and what they really should look like. And I was like, my fucking brain's leaking. I felt brain leak out the side of my ear because this doesn't make sense because it's so high level physics.
Yeah.
And they're talking about like string theory and things and relativity and things. I'm just like, I don't understand. And they're talking about quasars and fucking all sorts of shit. And I'm like, listen, I came here because I wanted to hear Joe Rogan tell some dick jokes.
Yeah.
You're talking about some real science I can't comprehend.
Might not exist though.
It might not exist, but I have no reason to believe it doesn't. Because if you tell me that there's some dude in the sky with a white beard who's snapping his fingers and fucking making shit, I can't reckon. I mean, I don't know. Then again, maybe this guy did sell water to a well. Maybe this guy was a preacher. Maybe he's the next Joel Osteen. Who knows?
For the longest, they said everything like matter gets sucked into a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
Until a few years ago, where light escaped from the black hole.
Right. So there's a part in that episode, like, in that episode, where they talk about black holes.
All right.
And he has to correct Joe on a few things. And he was like, I've never seen Joe Rogan so confused in his life. And I love Joe Rogan. So in the very minute chance that Joe Rogan is listening to this, which I'm sure he's not, I love you, bro. But he was so confused that he literally asked the guy a question. Yeah. Sean Carroll responded. And Joe goes, I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? I don't understand. My head hurts. He goes, I think over he goes, my head hurts. Please repeat that.
Shit.
And the guy goes, okay. So he tries to repeat it again in a little more simplified term. And Joe goes, I still don't understand, but we'll move on to something else.
Fuck.
Imagine, like, we all understand that, like, there's certain things that are hard for us, right? Like, some people are really good at writing, some people are really good at math, and they're good at math. But then there's some people who are so good at math that they understand the way the universe works without ever going into space. They look at a chalkboard and they look at equations and they understand that this equation means that space and time bend in a certain situation. I can't fathom being that smart. My daily worries are consumed by not shitting my pants on my way to work because I didn't take a shit in the morning. That's my main concern of the day.
I look at it like this, man. It's like you said, it's a great idea. It explains things. It makes sense. Doesn't make it true.
Right, but I think
that doesn't make it true.
No, that's true. Yeah. But I think it's better to look at that and be like, I'll believe that for now until something else makes more sense.
Okay.
Because that's the idea of science, right? Like they come up with these ideas and they're like, okay, this is what we think happened. And you look at it, it goes, that makes sense. And then 10 years later, somebody says something and comes. Go. So you see stuff like that and you're just like, okay, well, that makes sense for right now. But then you go over to, you wait a couple of years and somebody else comes up with something else. And you're like, oh, well, that makes more sense than that does.
Yes.
So I'm going to believe that now.
Yeah.
And then eventually somebody else will come up with something else. And that's the process, I think, of science and of learning in general. And I think that's how most people should look at life.
I agree with that. I guess the thing that bothers me is when people are so definitive on answers. And I'm like, we only live 60-something years. I mean, the average 60 to 80, the average human being, right? 60 to 80 years.
This whiskey is going to keep me alive to 100. I can feel it.
Hope so. But in all honesty, there's no way one single person can know that much. Like, I like Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these other famous scientists, not Bill Nye, because he's not a scientist.
He's an engineer.
He's an actor.
That too.
There's no way one person can have all the answers.
Nope.
And I refuse to be like, I have all the answers. I can read a book and be like, okay, well, check this out. This evidence was here. I'm open to your theory, but this evidence that they have, this factual evidence, says otherwise.
Right.
And that's, I don't know, that's how I choose to keep it. Until,
me too.
Like the guy, he could be a great astrophysicist, but until he
That's what he is, astrophysicist.
But until he steps on the moon, he doesn't have that experience.
That's true. I think they mentioned that
It's
too.
like you can make all the fries in the world, but until you work for McDonald's.
Wait, how dare you?
I'm just saying.
How dare you? McDonald's does not have the best fries. Burger King does.
What?
Yep.
Waffle fries from
Chick-fil-A?
Unfortunately, yes. I hate that place.
As
Fucking
a side
Nazi
note,
company.
I've been going to Chick-fil-A a lot to get the cookies and cream milkshake.
Chick-fil-A is a racist-ass company.
So fat.
If you don't believe me, look it up.
It's true, but they make the best chicken.
They do.
If you need a chicken sandwich, on the go, there's no better place than Chick-fil-A. This episode is not sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
Because they're a hateful-ass, racist-ass company.
This is also true. They're also Christians. However...
Hateful-ass Christians.
Yes. However, I will not deny the fact that their chicken sandwiches are delicious.
There's a fact. I used to work there as well.
When we go to Mohegan Sun, there's a Chick-fil-A. There's a new Chick-fil-A in Mohegan Sun. I go there every day for breakfast when I go up there. And you know what I have? I have a chicken biscuit for breakfast because I'm a goddamn American.
When I was, I used to work there in the mall when I was like, I don't know, 17, 18 in El Paso. And I remember when I first worked there, my boys were like, yo, bring home some food. Because me and all my boys lived in the same apartment complex. So in Texas, they got everything's an apartment complex. We don't have buildings like you have in New York.
It's like a square with like a hole in the middle, right? And it's like just like
well, they'll have a pool, not a hole.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, no, like in the center of the building, there's like an open, creative, recreational space.
Well, pool mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, and most of them, everybody got it's like, yeah, there's like blocks, but.
Do people actually use that pool?
Yeah, everybody uses a pool. And we all had our own porch. And it was nice, but this was like average. Like every apartment had your own balcony or porch. There's a pool for every complex. And so we would always barbecue and everybody would chill. But anyway, so all my friends, we all lived single, young college kids living in these apartments. So I would come home and I'm like, we'll watch like, I think it was BET. No, it was like South Park. And then I think it was, what was the order? I think it was BET Comic View, because that was a shit back in the day. And then South Park. You know, we'd be smoking and watching, cracking up, right? And then, of course, I would just come with like bags and bags of fucking Chick-fil-A shit.
I'm not mad. I wish I was your friend back then.
Bags.
I love Chick-fil-A. I can't explain to you
The
how
nuggets,
happy I was when Chick-fil-A... As a side note, let me do a quick recap into why
we're not sponsored by these fucking
We're not,
companies.
but we're gonna.
But they
give
do
them,
make some good food.
Yeah. So, I first experienced Chick-fil-A when I went to Utah a couple years ago for a trade convention, an outdoor trade convention. I went into a mall because I had some time to kill, and I found a Chick-fil-A. Had a chicken sandwich, and I'm a big chicken sandwich guy. I love chicken sandwiches. Find Chick-fil-A, amazing waffle fries, great chicken sandwiches, amazing.
Yeah.
A couple years later, this was like in 2012 or 13.
Mm-hmm.
A year ago or 2 years ago at this time, I can't remember, they finally announced they're opening a Chick-fil-A in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
On 38th Street and 6th Avenue.
Yep.
The line to get into this motherfucker was down the block.
Yep.
So it started at 6th Avenue. It ended at 5th Avenue.
Yep. Gave out free coupons for free chicken for a year.
For those of you who were in the area when that happened, you understand how long this line was. It went past the strip club. It was such a strong line that the strip club couldn't make a hole for their customers. The customers for the strip club had to be like, "Excuse me, I'm trying to get into the strip club. Can you move out of my way?"
Vivid.
Exactly. And the people in the line were like, "No, motherfucker, I'm trying to get some chicken. Fuck you and fuck your bad habit." It was amazing.
That line is still like that at lunchtime.
Yeah, and you know what? When that Chick-fil-A was announced, I got on that line 3 times. I waited on that line 3 times to get some chicken sandwich, to get 2 chicken sandwiches, and spicy ones, with orders of waffle fries and a cookies and cream milkshake. And I would fight you if you tried to cut. Like, that was one of the few times where I was like, "Oh, you're gonna cut me? We're gonna fight, and I'm gonna kill you." There were very few times in life where I felt that strong about food.
Yeah.
Try to get in my way with Chick-fil-A. I love it. The only thing that could probably rival that is if In-N-Out opened up a spot in New York.
You know what? I'm really a fan of Rowley's.
They're not bad.
Rowley's is the same as, they have it here. They have Checkers.
Mm-hmm. Checkers.
They're like the same thing, but for some reason I like Rowley's. You know,
Checkers is good.
Checkers.
There's not a lot of Checkers left in New York City, though.
There's one on 145th.
Mm-hmm.
I know 3.
There was one in Sunset Park in Brooklyn,
and then there's one in
they closed down
by City Hall.
There's one also right off the Manhattan. The Manhattan.
That's the one.
Yeah.
By City Hall.
Yeah. No, there's one in Brooklyn though, right off the bridge.
Oh,
on
Brooklyn.
Yeah,
side.
in Brooklyn.
Okay.
There's one right there because I went there a few times when I used to chill in Williamsburg before I realized it was full of pretentious douches.
Speaking of food, so this is random because we're talking about food.
Yeah.
Last night I was at a bar. It was actually the first time I was at the bar because I wanted to be an adult, be like the man in my relationship with my girl, and I had a conversation with her brother.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, man.
How'd that go?
Went good.
Good.
It was just like our bonding time.
Wait a minute. What kind of conversation are we talking about here?
You know, I got a girlfriend.
I know, but what kind of conversation? Okay, never mind.
Not that.
Okay.
Not that conversation. The conversation, but you know, just I'm gonna be around a while, so we should get in.
We should be friends.
Yeah, we should definitely like hang out more and stuff.
Okay.
Just us. So we were just talking, but this bar had like, man, they had just. I figured it was just bar food. I've been there before. It was a nice bar. It's not anything fancy, but man, they had a fucking chicken sandwich on there. And I was like, yeah, I ordered a chicken sandwich. Give me a beer, blah, blah, blah. It comes out, and I'm like, okay. It looks a little saucy. You know, it's like not too big, but man, I bit into it. I was like, motherfucker.
That good?
That fucking good.
There are some places that
I was
do
like,
that to you.
And then, how the owner comes around. She's like, how is it? I was like,
give me a titty.
I was like,
that good. It's that good.
I was like, this shit hit the spot.
Yeah.
I was like, it got me right there, like in between my stomach and my heart.
Yep.
It's just like,
I know.
oh my, I want to order another one.
Yeah, there are a few places that'll do that to me too. There's some places you can always
good,
count on that will deliver a good meal.
Yeah.
For me, it's pizza. I'm a big pizza guy, and I will say this.
Where's the spot?
My favorite place in
Grimaldi's?
No, get out of here. I'm from here, son.
Huh. Where do you go?
The best pizza in New York City, and I will do this to the day I will tell you this to the
You
day.
say Fumo?
No.
What the fuck?
What the hell's a Fumo?
God, I gotta put you on a Fumo, man.
Let me tell you something. The best pizza in New York City,
Yeah.
any borough, is going to be DeFar's Pizza on Avenue J in Brooklyn.
Don't know it.
DeFar's Pizza is a Italian-owned pizzeria that's been there since the 60s. The area is now Orthodox Jewish or Hasidic Jewish, but he was there before it was Jewish. He was there when the neighborhood was still Italian.
Okay.
His name's Dom.
Does he have like kosher pizza?
No, it's regular pizza. He's so old school, and he has no feeling in his hands from doing this for so many years. He pulls the pie out of the oven with his bare hands. Fuck. Usually you use the wooden spatula.
Yeah.
He goes in there with his bare hands, pulls it out, and this is the same pizza place I take all my friends to that come from out of state. And I'll have to take you now.
Yeah.
It's a little pricey. It's about $30 for a pie pizza. It's about $5 for a slice.
But it's worth it, though.
It's worth it.
All right.
It is, and you have to know when to go, because if you go like on a Sunday, you'll wait 2 hours for a pie.
Fuck that.
You have to know when to go.
All right. Don't say it on air.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But I only live 3 stops. Well, I used to only live 3 stops away from there. So I would go.
So it's way out there then.
Yeah. If you're coming from Manhattan, depending on where in Manhattan you're coming from. So if you're coming from uptown, like where we're at right now, it'll be about an hour trip.
Shit.
If you're coming from Midtown, it'll probably be like a 30-minute trip.
It's not bad.
But you want to take the Q train to Avenue J, and when you get off the train, it's right there on East 15th Street.
Okay.
You'll see it when you get off. It's the only non-Jewish business on that block. And if you go there, they open up at 11 o'clock. So you want to get there at least 10, because there's going to be a line to order.
Fuck.
And it's very small inside. It's not a fancy place. It is an old school New York City pizzeria. You walk in, the counter's to the left, you order, and then there's like not even really table. There's like one table, and then everything else is like shelves on the wall where you have to stand and eat.
I know what you're talking about.
Overall, the best slice of pizza you'll have in New York City. If you want the best square,
Sicilian.
Right. Well, yeah. 5 years ago, I would tell you it's also in Brooklyn at Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
However,
wait, no, that's a place or a restaurant?
It's both.
Okay.
It's a place and a restaurant. Okay. It's Spumoni Gardens. However, because they changed owners and they switched out ovens, the pizza's not the same. It's still a good square.
They don't have brick ovens or what?
No, it's gas. It's still a good square, and it's cheap, and it's reversed, so it's more saucy than it is cheesy. But currently, my favorite square in New York City is Prince Street Pizza in Soho. It is hands down the best square I've ever had.
Yeah. There's an old school pizza spot in a village. Do you know of it? They only serve by the pie.
Where in the village?
It's off. I want to say off of. Okay, so you have West 4th. You go a few blocks down from West 4th. It's not Christopher.
Not Joe. It's not Roberta.
Broom Street, maybe. Because it's not before you get it's like, damn. I always pass by this spot, and it's always crowded. But they have a big sign. We only serve pies. And it's supposed to be like one of the oldest pizza spots in New York. I've never been there. Right. Because it's like, I feel like it's a tourist thing.
There's a lot of places. So for those who don't know me, I have a lot of friends that come from California, and we always do a pizza tour every year. The places that we typically go are Prince Street Pizza in Manhattan, in Soho. We go to DeFar's in Midwood in Brooklyn. Okay. We go to Spumoni Gardens, which is in more towards Coney Island-ish.
Damn.
It's like by Avenue N.
Fucking traveling now.
Yeah, but the pizza's good. We go to the original Patsy's up on 119th, which is fantastic for the price.
119th in Manhattan? Oh, okay.
It's up there.
Original Patsy's.
Original Patsy's.
Here in Manhattan?
In Manhattan.
I'll check for it.
Or is it 109th? I can't remember. I'm really drunk right now.
You got to go to Fumo's, man.
I will try Fumo's.
Fumo's is good.
I'm always open to new pizza spots. Fumo's. Also, Sleeper. If you want a really good slice, if you're uptown, Pizza Palace on Dykeman, right off the 1 train on 200th Street, makes an amazing slice. Like, it is Pizza Palace. You get off the train at the 1 train, and you see it says Pizza Palace, and then it says Pizza and Heroes. I don't think they're Italian. I think they are Albanian, but the slices for one are huge. They're good. They're the thicker type of doughy pizza. It's phenomenal. It is probably one of the most underrated slices I've ever had in my life. Like it is really good. So next time you and Sophie, we still need to do the brunch thing. But yeah, But, well, I'll explain why.
But you always fucking tell me no, so I didn't call you.
I know. Well, this weekend doesn't work because I'll explain to you why later. But we do have to do that. We have to get that sorted out. But I got to take you to
Mama, what's up?
Mama Juana.
Mama Juana.
We got to do Mama Juana.
Flat fee.
Have you been to Papacitos?
No. Do you know Mama Juana? And I'm just going to put this out there.
Yeah.
That my drink never got like this low.
Yeah, they don't play around.
I was like, I'm still drinking. And I remember she filled it up. I took a sip. And then she's back filling up again. I was like, yo, stop.
That's the best place, man. Well, not the best place, but it's really good. They don't mess around.
It was a vegan girl in there. And she was like, do you have anything vegetarian? I was like, you're in the Heights.
You're in the
buffet
middle.
was all like 10 pieces of, it was all meat.
You're in the Dominican capital of Manhattan, and you're asking about vegan options. Go back to Wisconsin, you dumb broad.
I was like, oh, meat. That's all we have here. I was like, I'm done.
I'm kind of mad that they're even like vegan options at ethnic restaurants. Like, I get the business side of it. Like, I get why, but I don't know.
Yeah, like I saw this post about vegan. Pizza Hut is doing vegan pizzas now. And I was like, well, first of all,
That's not pizza.
there you go. I was like, Pizza Hut doesn't even use real ingredients. Everything is artificial. So if you get a pizza that has non-dairy cheese, it's not going to be like soy-based cheese or anything. It's just going to be more artificial shit that you're consuming. And that's a big problem with these. Like, I used to be a vegetarian.
Really?
Yeah, man. I did the whole vegetarian thing for a while, several years.
I had no idea.
And the only reason I stopped because I was going through a lot of personal stuff and I was stressing a lot. And I don't want to. The last thing I wanted to stress over was food.
Right.
Like, seriously, I was in a real dark place. You know, I had like a lot of shit going on, and I was like, there's too much to worry about. I'm not gonna sit here and pick and choose about what I'm eating.
Right.
And I still don't drink milk to this day. But yeah, it's like a lot of stuff. That was one of the hardest things to be a vegetarian. A lot of things aren't. It's just you're not eating meat. But then you're buying like these Morningstar brands and these other fake soy brands and all this stuff. And soy is bad for men.
Right. Think about
Tofu's bad.
Even anything in that quantity will be bad for you.
And then all this chemical, artificial shit. And it was like, you know what? No.
What happens to just a regular balance of a little bit of meat, a little bit of vegetables, some grains.
That's where I'm at now.
Go, right? That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Like if I go out and I look at a menu, I'm like, okay, my first option is no matter what, veggies. I got to get veggies. Get veggies and rice, right? And if I can get a portion of meat, cool. I'm not saying I'm a vegetarian, but I'm like, I always put my veggies first. And then I'm like, okay, that's how I look at a menu. But
is there anything better in life than some rice and some chicken?
Yeah, exactly. Rice, chicken, beans. Can't go wrong, right?
Cheap, delicious.
And it fills you up.
Right.
You cannot go wrong with that.
You can't go wrong.
There's all types of ways to cook rice.
That's a reason why it's a staple in every Hispanic diet. Chicken, rice, beans. It's cheap, it's easy, it's delicious.
All types of ways to cook rice, all types of ways to cook beans,
salt.
All types of ways to cook chicken. You know, think about this. Who doesn't cook with rice?
People who don't deserve to live.
There's certain types of groups out there that don't cook with rice.
Who doesn't eat rice? Tell me.
I can't say it. I'm sound racist.
Okay. Don't be racist. Who doesn't eat rice? But rice is literally for everyone. People who eat meat eat rice. People who don't eat meat eat rice. Who doesn't eat rice?
A lot of people don't eat rice. A lot of people will not eat rice and beans. I don't know. I just noticed there's a certain
Do they not enjoy life?
There's a certain group of people out there that don't eat rice and beans. And I'm like, I see. But everywhere I go,
really?
Think about it.
Oh, wow. Really? It just dawned on me. They don't.
Rice and beans, man.
Huh. Oh, shit. All right. That's very interesting. I did not realize that until this very moment.
I noticed that with old like exes I would date and old girls I've dated and stuff. I'm like, I see who doesn't eat rice and beans and who does.
Huh.
You know? And I always got along better with the girls who eat rice and beans.
I don't think I trust anybody. If I offer you a plate of like chicken, rice, and beans, I would understand if you're like, I don't eat meat. I'd be like, okay, don't eat the chicken. But if you was like, I don't eat rice and beans either, I'd be like,
the fuck?
I'm sorry, what? please exit my home.
I don't know how to cook rice and beans. Like,
there's rice cookers. There's no excuse. Listen, there's no excuse for you not being able to cook rice if rice cookers
boil
exist.
water, dump the rice, come back in 20 minutes, done.
Yeah. It's what? How dare you? What is wrong with people today? We got a little off topic with the food discussion.
Yeah, we talked for a while.
Okay, so we covered dinosaurs. We covered physics.
Yeah.
So Walmart. Do we want to jump into Walmart and the government, or do we want to jump into perhaps
Let's keep it with the factual and with the fantasy.
Okay.
Or not yeah, fuck it, call it fantasy.
We'll call it fantasy.
Let's stick with the facts for now, because we have a track of like,
getting off the rails a little bit.
Well, I know a couple people have made comments about like conspiracy theories, and they listen to us and they're like, oh, they're with us until we start talking about the far-fetched stuff. But keep in mind that whatever we do talk about on this podcast, you can always research yourself. So if anything seems far-fetched that it just blows your mind and you're like, oh, they're just talking nonsense, hey, research it.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention that I saw, and this is completely left field, there was a video from like, it wasn't the Associated Press. I think it's like, they always posting stuff on Facebook. It's like these videos. I think it's an A+. There's a symbol. I'm not sure, but it's a news outlet, right? And they're always posting like these news clips and these videos. So anyways, they had a video from a rally out in Washington, D.C. of Trump supporters, which is fine. And it was like Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter group was there. So it was like a video showing their whole interaction. This is where it gets funny. At first, I saw it on my feed a few times, and I'm like, I don't want to see this shit because I figured how it's going to go out. But then the caption was like, it's not what you think it is. So I watch it. And this was dope, man. It was like, all right, so they show, it was like, I think it was like 6 of them, 6 people from the BLM. And they go to the Trump rally. And, people are automatically hating them. Boo, this. They're not even doing anything. But they are walking with, like, flags and shit like that. So I was like, all right, you're asking for you're kind of asking for a confrontation instead of just going there and being like,
right,
we're here. So they go, and then people are booing them and saying shit and yelling at them. Nobody's violent, but everybody's, like, kind of aggressive. And it's mostly white people. Well, the majority is white people for the Trump supporters. And here's where it takes a twist. So They asked the main guy, and I believe he was the New York president of BLM, onto the stage. They invited him onto the stage. It was like, listen, it was like, we're here for, I forgot what the guy said, but he said it pretty smooth. He was like, we're here for like people's rights or people's justice or something like that. He's like, so I'm gonna let them speak for 2 minutes to say what they said because that's what we're about. He said, I can't remember the exact word he said, but it basically was just like, we're here because we're citizens and we exercising our right, freedom of speech. That's what it was about. I think he had said something about freedom of speech. So he's like, I'm gonna let him have 2 minutes to say what he wants to say, right? And of course, people from the audience are just yelling, just saying shit, talking shit and stuff. And then the guy from BLM was just like, listen, he's like, we're for Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, all lives matter. He's like, yeah, all lives do matter. But he's like, when there's an injustice of like, black men getting killed or black women getting killed and, and police are walking free, he's like, that hurts black people because nobody is standing up for that. But he's like, at the same time, that hurts all people, because it's not just an injustice to us, but it's justice to everybody. And he starts talking. He says some stuff that really makes sense. And it's like, yo, it's cool. I'm still not with BLM. I disagree with a lot of things that they do, but I appreciated what he was saying, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other guy who was in charge of the event, he was like, listen, he was like, he comes over. I forgot what he said at the end, but the whole crowd, they went from like yelling at him, the BLM guy, they went from like yelling at him and shouting stuff to like cheering him as he was talking. And it was
that's pretty good.
Yo, man, I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of beautiful. I was like, this is exactly what needs to happen in these types of situations. You know what I'm saying? It's like, instead of everybody being divided, we need to like quit the bullshit and like listen to each other.
Yep.
And that's what happened during this rally. So towards the end, there's like, I don't know if it was one cameraman or they had like multiple cameras, but it was just like they panned to like the end of it, and it was like they had one guy from like some big biker group, and then they had one guy from a militia, and the militia guy goes up to him, he's like, listen, he was like, I knew at one point you and I were going to talk, and I knew at somewhere down the line we were going to see eye to eye about what's going on right now with the country. And he was like, he's like, it's not like they said, hey, let's be friends and exchange emails, but it was like, it was a cool conversation. They showed like a clip of it, and then like the biker guy, he was like, hey man, he's like, can my son take a picture with you? He's like, yeah, and it was like, the way it ended, people were more or less like open,
right,
and friendly, rather than being like hate. I'm pretty sure there was still hateful people there.
Yeah, of course.
But I think people just realized the stupidity of just hating somebody for hating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because what he said on the mic was just like, yo, we're all, even though it's mostly affecting black people getting shot and shit like that, but this affects all of us as citizens of this country.
Right.
And I think when he started breaking shit down like that, everybody was like, you have a fucking valid point.
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as
it was a beautiful video.
It's, yeah. I mean, I'll take a look at it for sure. But I think that's a big problem nowadays with most people, or with our society, at least in general, is that we don't listen. We're all caught up in what we believe in and wanting to be right. We don't really take the time to listen to everybody's perspective and understand where everyone's coming from. And I think
I'm sorry. It was now this.
This.
Yeah, they always posting these little quick clips of news online.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had, because there's always people in movements that are like radical and crazy, and we know people. Whether you're a Trumper or whether you're one of those radical Muslims or if you're a radical feminist, there's always a radical in every group.
Yeah,
and I think what everybody wants is to just be treated equally.
Yes.
How we get there is a whole different conversation, and the methods you use to achieve equality, whether or not we'll ever actually be able to achieve equality. But I think if you got one person from each of those groups who's rational and level-headed, and you put them all in a room, you would see that if one of them goes, we're all equal, right? I think everybody would say yes. And that is where things go. And it's always the crazy people, because every group will attract a crazy personality. Anytime you see any kind of culture,
spark shit up,
and they want to start, or they say something crazy, or they believe something crazy, or they make something up, or they
aggressive.
Yeah, it's right. It's not like when you think of somebody who's liberal, it's not. When we say progressive, we're using it as a pejorative term, because progressive nowadays isn't progressive. It's regressive. It's not what liberalism is. Liberalism is being consumed by a quote-unquote progressive system of a group of people that are not progressive. They're looking to go backwards. They're looking to take things away. If you look at any normal progressive person, they believe that freedom of speech should be taken away because they don't believe people should have their feelings hurt by words.
That's bad. I
Which
don't
is
agree
bad.
with that shit.
Me either. There was a great video done by Ben Shapiro. All right, Ben Shapiro, are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
He, I forget who I think it was Congress who's testifying, or some official body. And he was talking about censorship and freedom of speech, and that, especially on campuses, that people want to equivocate words with violence. And he cited an article which I had read a while back about, on the New York Times, where I forget what her name was, but it was a writer from the New York Times who tried to justify words being violent because words can induce stress, and stress can induce physical harm to yourself.
Safe places and all that shit.
Right. And it's unhealthy for a democracy or any society to limit free speech, because the only way you can grow as a person, the only way you can grow your understanding of something, is by talking to people who disagree and have different opinions. That doesn't mean that you have to like them. We can have a conversation about things with different...
I'm shaking my head as I'm agreeing with Gomez.
Like, we don't have to agree. Me and Smalls don't agree on everything. No. We don't have this, but we have conversations about it. We're friends. Just because you're not defined by your ideas so much. Like, if you believe one thing and somebody else believes another thing, you should have a conversation and be able to talk about it without somebody interfering and saying, well, you can't say that because it hurts my feelings. It doesn't matter if it hurts your feelings.
That's what I hate.
It's not violence. It doesn't harm you. If I say I don't like X and you say I don't like Y, that's fine. You can disagree.
It's like there was a video, and I come to find out this video was bullshit. It was one of those prank videos. But the actual dude, because he was trying to pull a prank, he actually got knocked out. So there was a guy in Seattle wearing like the
Nazi armband.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It was a prank.
Well, that's one post that I read. They said it turned out to be a prank because they were like, look how the guy was recording him the whole time.
Right. That's why I was.
I don't know. That could have been like an assumption.
Right.
But he got knocked the fuck out.
He did. He got punched. He got knocked the fuck out.
The reason I bring that up is because I believe in freedom of speech. And that means that if you can say whatever you want, right?
Right.
And that goes both ways. Like I say whatever I want, you say whatever you want. That is freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
When they create they have created these safe places and all this jargon where you can't say this, can't say that. That's bullshit. Like hate speech is one thing. Hate speech is when you want to incite violence.
But hate speech is protected by the freedom of speech.
It is. Just like the guys who went down to Charlotte. They won their case over by the ACLU and the ACLU.
ACLU.
Yeah, and they were like, people were like, well, why did you defend them? They was like, well, we had no choice.
It's freedom of speech.
They brought us a case.
It's freedom of speech. And if you
we have to take that case.
If you take freedom of speech away from people saying things that you don't like, guess what? It can be taken away from you.
You told me this a while ago, and it hit me so hard because we were talking about guns. I don't know if it was on a podcast or not, but I remember you said it, and you were like, if we give up our right to bear arms, we will never get that right back.
Anytime you give up anything, you will never get it back.
The same thing goes for freedom of speech.
Yep.
And
which is even more dangerous than giving up your right to bear arms.
And people are like, yo, you can't say this. I can say whatever I want. If you want to punch me for some shit that I'm saying, that's on you. I'm going to fuck you up. That's on you. If you want to get it violent over some shit that I'm saying.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I should be able to say whatever I want to say.
That's my problem with all this Nazi shit. Let me tell you.
Punch a Nazi.
Right.
Okay,
yeah, punch a Nazi. You better hope he don't know how to fight.
If he has a gun. You know,
exactly. Exactly.
Shit is
For example, the thing you were just talking about with the Nazi who got knocked out.
Yeah.
Let's say that wasn't a prank. Let's say that Nazi was serious and he's in a place where he can legally have a firearm. Let's say you try to punch that Nazi, you don't knock him out, he pulls out a gun, he shoots you. Guess who's wrong? You are, because he didn't start violence. All he was saying, granted, all he was saying was some hateful shit, but him saying that is not a physical attack to you. Him saying, I hate whatever, doesn't punch you in the face. Maybe it hurts your feelings.
I'm not trying to be on a pedestal and say, like, I never hit anybody or I never got in a fight, because
it's only natural. It happens.
I've made my mistakes.
If you live a life, you've made mistakes.
Yes. I'm not saying I've never punched anybody out of anger. I have. I made stupid fucking mistakes. But what I'm saying is, like, there's no way to end a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like when I saw the video of the guy who punched the Nazi, it was like, dude, you're gonna go to jail for this shit. Mm-hmm. That was my first thought. It was like, you better hope that they don't catch you, because that is an assault charge.
Yep.
Even though, yes, I understand why you did it, but it's still a fucking assault charge.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people lose it. And it's like, that's why I don't like. That's why I said earlier I don't agree with Black Lives Matter movement, because a lot of times when I see them interacting with people, it's in an aggressive, violent manner, and I'm like, that's not the way to get shit done.
Right. It's the same way as that.
That's not the way to get shit done.
Antifa, same thing. The anti-fascists.
Yeah.
And they act.
Them too.
They act in the most fascist of ways.
Those motherfuckers are wild.
Right. Listen, it's very simple.
They are fucking wild.
Right. If you believe in, if you consider yourself an American, then I would have to assume you consider yourself somebody who's a proponent of the Constitution. If you believe in freedom of speech, because the whole idea of an American is that you believe in freedom, right?
Yes.
Is that a fair
freedom,
assumption?
Liberty, and justice for all.
Freedom, liberty, justice for all. So when it comes to injustice for minorities, I'm all about making sure the minorities have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
But if you believe that you should not be able to say words because they hurt feelings,
it's bullshit.
It's bullshit, because
Such
the
bullshit.
only way you get smarter, the only way you change things is by saying things. If you are actively promoting censorship, that only gives one group the ability to censor you, and that's the government. Once you make censorship okay, it's only a matter of time before the government decides to come in, censor you from saying something about the government. Because once that happens, no one's safe.
Yeah. We're on that level now.
And we're getting close. And we see that all the time. Every time I see and I hate to single groups of people out, but I see it a lot with younger people who are going to college and they're saying, safe spaces and this and that. I'm like, there's a reason why the generation before, it's fucked up, and I'm not making excuses for the generation before us. They made their mistakes just like we're making our mistakes.
Yeah.
But if you talk to somebody who's our parents' age or our grandparents' age and you say some shit mean to them, they'll probably just look at you and say, fuck you. And they're not going to be upset. They'll let it roll off their back. But if you say some mean shit to a 19-year-old now or a 20-year-old, they're going to say, you triggered my anxiety. I have to go to therapy. I felt like I was violated. Like, words are not violence.
It's I have this theory, and it came in, I don't know why it came to me, but it's something I believed in for years, and I call it the end of the Al Bundy era, right? Because, growing up, I watched Married with Children.
I love that show.
And completely different jokes now that I'm adult,
Right? I look at shows from when I was a kid, and I watch them now. I'm like, whoa, there were a lot of fucking hidden ones in there. Yeah. There were a lot of hidden jokes.
Married with Children was different now, like if I watch the reruns. But, Al Bundy, he was the all-American guy.
Yep.
Loved his family. Had
Worked
a shitty job.
at a goddamn shoe store.
Shitty job, but he had a house, had a car, took care of his family, right? He was a provider. He was a masculine man. High school football, all that bullshit, right?
Yep.
But he was the end of an era. Like, even take a look at Tim the Toolman Taylor. What was that show?
Yep. Home Improvement.
Home Improvement, right? He had a new show where instead of boys, he had girls.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Same type of dude, but instead of boys, it's like what I'm saying is there was a time when it was good to be a man, and it was good to be like masculine, and it was good to be aggressive, and it was good to be defend your shit and take care of your stuff, right?
Yep.
There was a time when that was good, and we saw that. It's not like that anymore.
No.
Now people are like, you're too aggressive. I'm not fucking aggressive. You're just a bitch.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that to women. I'm saying that to men. You're just soft. You're a punk. It's like,
you got no spine.
what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, and I
man up.
Yeah. I made that same argument when they came out with the Ghostbusters remake.
Oh.
First off, my first argument before we get any comments about feminism or whatever was, first off, that movie
we
doesn't
can't talk about feminism again.
Yeah, but we're not. But that movie didn't need to be remade.
No, it didn't.
Granted, the second one sucked.
And they had a TV show called The Extreme Ghostbusters. Look it up. It was a cartoon. After the real Ghostbusters came out, it was another segment called The Extreme Ghostbusters, where they even had a kid in a wheelchair. If you're going to do another story with Ghostbusters, do a story based on another storytelling of the Ghostbusters. Don't just take the fucking characters and make them women. That doesn't do anything.
Exactly. But what I found interesting about that was that all these women and a lot of these quote-unquote progressives were talking about how great it is that now all these little girls growing up are going to have the Ghostbusters. And listen, I get that. That's fine. But if you're going to do that, at least put the effort to make the movie good. At least change it so that the movies, so that you don't have a Venkman, you don't have, you don't have whoever. Like, it's just, you don't have a female Egon.
Right.
It's about, if you're going to do it because you want to make a good product and because you want to make a good movie, not because you just want to add to some kind of pop culture to make money. Whatever studio made the female Ghostbusters, if you made a good female Ghostbuster movie, I would have never had a problem with it. The problem was that you made a half-assed Ghostbuster movie for the sake of popularity because of the cultural environment.
Yes.
Suck my dick. So that movie, first off, didn't need to be remade.
Nope.
Second of all, if you were going to remake it, it should have been the kids of the original ones, and it could have been way better because the talent,
kind of connection.
Because Melissa McCarthy, hilarious. All the women in that movie are good actresses, and they could have made a good movie. The writing, I feel like they wrote that script in like a weekend.
I couldn't get through it.
No, I watched 30 minutes of it, and I was like, this is garbage.
Bullshit. But you know what? In addition to what you just said about, girls need these characters, they could dress up as these characters, they can look up to these characters. I'm going to bring out a movie that really, two movies that really show strong female characters. Rogue One.
Yep.
Fucking
amazing.
She was badass.
She was amazing.
And she wasn't sexual. She wasn't like, I'm going to show my boobs, I'm going to show my butt. She was just like, she's covered up.
She's tough.
And tough as fucking
nails.
Tough as fucking nails. One of the best Star Wars movies out there.
The best Star Wars movie. And not a Jedi in sight.
It's a close runner to Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back, they was dropping knowledge, man. They were dropping so much knowledge.
I don't want to go to the original trilogy because it's not fair.
But Rogue One was the shit.
Amazing.
Straight up.
Amazing.
It was like, that is how every Star Wars movie needs to be made. That was the shit. That was just strong female lead, right? Now, I saw the trailer for Tomb Raider, the remake.
Also,
she's not the big boobalicious fucking Tomb Raider of Angelina Jolie in the video games. Nah, she's like the authentic looking, like, yo. And if anybody knows video games and Tomb Raiders, they remade Tomb Raider a few years ago where they actually like they did her whole origin story, and that's what this movie's coming about. And if you're looking for a strong female character, if you want to use like a strong female character for some feminist bullshit or whatever, and you want to talk about something, talk about those movies, man, because those movies, that's what Hollywood needs. Not this over-sexualized bullshit. Like, hey, I'm going to put somebody in here with this. I'm going to put somebody in here with fit this stereotype. I'm going to put somebody in here that fits that stereotype.
It's crazy.
Come on, man. It's like, it's nonsense.
I agree. It's crazy. I don't know. I think there are a lot of movies that are overlooked. Even Sicarios. Did you watch Sicarios? Emily Blunt. Amazing performance. Great. There's
that
a
movie's
lot.
Fucked up.
Right. There's a difference between writing a movie with a strong female lead that's genuine, and then doing something like Ghostbusters, which is clearly just something to grab attention and to try to grab fanfare.
Get money.
People who like that movie didn't like the original movie, which doesn't make sense because the
Ghostbusters.
Do you remember the first time you watched Ghostbusters?
I got the shit on DVD, part 1 and 2.
I got that shit on VHS.
Most motherfuckers don't even know there was a part 2. There was a part 2.
Let me tell you something. The original Ghostbusters was one of the first movies I saw as a child. It came out before I was even born, I think. What year did it come out? 89? No,
I saw it in theaters.
I was born in 88. So that movie must have been
Bobby
older
Brown
than
did the soundtrack. I love that shit.
Yeah, that movie it's probably older than me. But I remember watching. What year did the movie come out? Can you look that up?
Yeah.
Young Smalls, can you please pull that up?
1984 was the first one?
Yep. It came out 4 years before I was born.
Fuck. When the fuck were you born?
88.
God, I was born in 78.
We're 10 years apart.
Damn.
Exactly. Gentlemen, ladies listening to the show, we are a very diverse group. We are 2 different generations, 2 different races. We have different opinions on everything.
God damn.
Exactly. But I've watched, I would be pressed. I would say I probably watched this movie more than anybody else. Here we go. Uh-oh. Is that Bobby Brown? Oh shit. Oh my God.
Ghostbusters 2 came out in 1989.
That came out the year after I was born. So I watch Ghostbusters constantly. If you ask my girlfriend, she'll tell you that my favorite movie is Ghostbusters because whenever it's on TV, I leave it on that channel and I won't let her change the channel. So when I talk about how good that movie is, I think it is legitimately one of the best movies ever made. Comedy-wise, casting-wise, Bill Murray, Sam Raimi,
Ernie Hudson,
and Dan Aykroyd. Sam Raimi. Yeah. He wrote it.
Oh, that was Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Okay, yeah.
He wrote it.
He died.
Not Harold Ramis. Sorry, Sam Raimi's somebody else. Harold Ramis. Forgive me. Harold Ramis. He wrote it. He's amazing. He wrote so many movies. He's a great actor.
Raise a Cult, best bookstore in New York City.
Yep, Raise a Cult.
It's a real bookstore.
We should open that. We should get our money. We should open that fucking bookstore.
I hope they never close.
And just do the books. Just do the podcast from there and have people come over and watch.
The real name is what?
I forget. Fuck. Yeah, but I went into it the other day. But yeah, so basically what we're saying is there's no need for fakeness. If you're going to do something, do it right. If not, then don't do it. Don't do it for a cash grab. Don't do it for attention. Don't do it because you feel like, that's what everybody wants. If you're going to do it, do it. When it comes to the female lead, write a real female lead. Sicarios, great female lead. Rogue One, great female lead. It's not a secret. Just write a female character who is normal.
Leave out the boobs.
Right. I'm sure you will say the same thing too, but I know plenty of women who are strong women who can handle themselves. Yep. You don't need to make some kind of fictitious chick. Just model it after a real woman, and you've got a real strong person there. Like, I don't know. It also comes down to a lot of other things, like with movie-wise, but we won't have to get into that right now. We can leave that for a whole different podcast.
We talked about a lot.
We did. We still got
a few more things to mention.
All right. What do you want to talk about right now?
Let's jump down the rabbit hole.
Let's go.
So, everybody knows what happened in the world lately with all the storms and hurricanes, and we got another storm coming, Maria.
Maria just wrecked Puerto Rico.
Yeah, man. I mean, the islands are getting devastated. One island is completely
without power,
without people.
Yeah. But who?
Yeah, there's an island. What's it called? It's not Bermuda. It's like it's a small island, somewhere to be. I'm sorry, forgive me for not knowing the name, but there's one island. It was like, yeah, it's in over 200 years, it's completely unpopulated.
That's terrifying.
Nobody's there. Either they left, or they're just, they're done. Yeah, it's completely it's totaled. Yeah,
Jesus.
Man. Yeah, it's fucked up. So Houston, it's gonna be a long time recovery. Sparks just jumped in my lap. Say what's up, Sparks. You ain't got nothing to say? No?
Now the cat doesn't want to say anything. She's been meowing. This cat.
She's cool. But yeah, so hopefully nothing's gonna hit New York. If it is, be ready. Like we've been saying, that's one of the main themes in this podcast we've been talking about. Emergency planning. Stay ready, get ready, be ready. Don't worry about it. Steve Gomez, Chico, he laughed at me the other day because I sent him a picture that I'm gonna order a raft from Amazon. He was like, yeah, that's funny. Ha ha ha. LOL. And I was like, yeah, me and Sparks gonna be in that motherfucking raft. Sailing down Harlem.
I can still see you and Sparks rolling down in the raft. Sparks has a yellow raincoat on with the yellow hat.
Damn
like Curious George.
Right. Be like, yep, I saw that shit on Amazon.
We out this bitch right now, rolling down Harlem.
Two-seater raft, man. I was like, I mean, luckily, we're both living uptown, and we don't have to worry about flooding, because
Right.
we're on the hilly part. But damn near, just in case.
I'm gonna go hide in the cloisters.
Like shit.
They gotta protect the art. They gotta protect me.
I'm like, I got my bike, but what I want to talk about is there's a few things going on right now that are really shocking, and I say shocking because it's always shocking when it's like there's no secret that I've talked about this many times. I'm into the what if. I love a good what if. I love a good, oh shit, that's a crazy ass story. It's a crazy ass movie. It gets my mind thinking about this, that, and the other. But when things come true, it's shocking. It's like, now what? People talked about this online. People talked about this for years. And when shit starts taking fruition, it's like, what do you do now? Like shit is actually happening. Like, so there's been reports of, Walmart's being turned into FEMA centers, which is fine. It makes sense. They're turning into like shelters for people to go into. However, people have to be vaccinated to go into these shelters. They're saying it's a tetanus shot. Who the fuck knows? Because there's all types of autisms and side effects from shots that have been traced back lately. People are saying like, yo, don't get vaccinated, don't get shots, don't get this, don't get that. There's conflicting reports. I don't know who to believe, but one thing I do from research and information is like, yeah, people have to be shot in order to get the necessary resources to help themselves. And I'm like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But going also on a Walmart thing, it's like if you ever take a look at the strip mall, and this is outside a major metropolis area, but if you go to like Jersey or Texas or somewhere where it's like they have land to like build these massive Walmarts, you will look at it and see a strip mall, how the Walmart is normally in the center. It's a big block, and then they have like smaller buildings on the side, and then on the corners they always have these big two towers. Now, I saw an image of a Walmart FEMA center where the two towers had gunmen in them. And it was like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, man. Were these things originally built with this in mind? Or is this,
sure.
Or is this just something of a coincidence? It's like when you see a Simpsons episode, like, fuck, I remember that shit was in the Simpsons. What? It's like that type of thing. It's like, I don't fucking know. What I do know is like I've heard about the FEMA centers for a long ass time. Long time. I mean, anybody can go online, they can Google the shit. There's tons and tons of video of the FEMA centers. And until I think the past 2 years, they were all abandoned, didn't have anybody in them. And then in the last 2 years, they became functional. They had staff. There was even an ad online I saw one time. They were hiring people to work in these FEMA centers, or as they call them now, relocation centers, And their whole story about it is like, in case of a natural disaster, emergencies, some shit to house the citizens, which is, again, makes perfect sense. But what's going on right now down south, it kind of conflicts to that, because I'm like, if you're here to help the people, how come it's so much security and in military presence, you know, and also why are they spraying Houston with? Why is the Air Force spraying Houston with some type of pesticides? Like, I get it. There's floodwaters and there's diseases. And one area in Houston, believe it or not, has been contaminated because of the nuclear facility that was close by.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There was a report from the local news station. They were saying because a lot of people in Texas live in trailers, right?
Really?
Yeah, they live in trailers, mobile homes.
Like double wides?
Double wides are the long ones, right? Yeah. So not like Winnebagos and shit.
Okay.
Like real trailers, like long trailers. And it's kind of like, I don't know.
Really? I figure everybody in Texas. I feel. I don't know.
Nah, man. Trailers are, but. Like for me, I know what I'm talking about, but I guess I got to paint the picture for the people who don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. So when I say trailers, I mean like, okay, so, shit. What's a perfect example?
You talking about mobile homes?
No. They're called trailers because mobile home is different. Mobile home is like you either have like a Winnebago or it attaches to a truck.
Right.
Right. A trailer is like it's a long, rectangular object, right? Like rectangular shaped. Inside it, you can have multiple bedrooms, like full bedrooms. You can have a living room, kitchen, full kitchen, all that. But
Sounds like a house.
Yes, but the thing is, it's like they're mobile.
There's no plumbing.
There is plumbing. So there's like trailer parks.
Okay.
Right? For these places. Yeah, it's like, God damn it. How can I explain this?
Because you realize you sound like you're just explaining a house.
No, but yes, exactly. It's a mobile house.
Okay.
They're big. They're big as fuck. But they're very massive. They're very common in Texas, right? And I only say Texas because I lived in Texas. So I'm pulling up a picture online where they look like this.
I see.
So they have. You see how they're stationed next to each other.
Yes.
And then the space underneath the bottom is for the wheels.
Yep.
And there's a big truck that will come in and move these. But technically they are a house. It's just a house that's long like a rectangle. And they're luxury. They have good ones and they have cheap ones, right? So in Texas, there's a lot of trailer parks.
Okay.
Where everybody goes, and there's all types. You know, there's stuff like this,
all
which
right.
is like a double wide trailer. This is a full house, as you can see.
It's a mobile home. It looks like a house.
Yeah,
but it's not. There's no foundation into the ground.
No. But there is plumbing that's connected to each one of these.
So they can move the house onto the plumbing.
Yes.
Okay.
Each house is set up with the plumbing attached. This is in a. I'm showing them a picture of a mobile home. This is a mobile home in Charleston. It happens to be, but yeah. So and then when you want to move to another location, there's a big fucking truck that comes, lifts it up, and takes you where you got to go. But so these places, I was seeing an interview of a girl, and she was like, we get our water from a well, and you know it's a small community on the outskirts of Houston, and they weren't too bad affected by the flooding. But because they were getting their water from a well, she was like, our water is contaminated now because all the stuff that came from the nuclear plant, even though the nuclear plant is still functional, but she's like, all the waste got mixed in. She's like, our water is contaminated. She's like,
it's fucked up.
Yeah, she was like, we don't know what to do. There's a lot of small areas like that in Texas. You know, there's a lot of small communities outside the cities. You have to be, like when I lived in El Paso, you have like El Paso, the main hub, but then you have like the outskirts of El Paso, which is why El Paso is like one of the biggest cities in the United States because it's the landmass, you know, what's considered the city. So once you go to the outskirts of the city, you see more and more mobile home areas. So when she said that, I was like, fuck, man.
That's crazy.
It's just things that people don't talk about. Now you got the Air Force down there spraying all these chemicals because of alleged mosquitoes and the water and all the mold and bugs and all those insects that came because of the stagnant water.
Yep.
But I'm like, yo, you're spraying on people as well. So what effects is that going to have? It's just like it's a whole shit show that's happening right now.
Yep. That's not going to.
It's painful, man. It's fucking painful.
Desperate times.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never dealt with these kind of natural disasters. I mean, historically, Houston has never been hit by anything like that.
I mean, they've had like crazy storms, but nothing bad. You know, it's
like photos I've seen out of Texas are crazy.
Yeah, it's like
and I have a friend down there, and he's telling me it's nuts.
It's like I said, I went to New Orleans
and Texas
earlier this year, and there's still side effects. There's still effects from Katrina.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like the water receded, but there's still places that need to be condemned, but they can't condemn them because it's just like there's so many of it. It's like, what do? You just let it rot, just let it. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is going to happen in Houston. The majority of the area is destroyed. What can you do about it? Nothing.
Bringing white people to open up Starbucks and donut shops.
It's. I can't even laugh. I want to laugh. I can't even laugh. And it's like,
I tried to make you laugh. It didn't work out.
Yeah. It's like I'm not a big Texas guy, but I love Texas. I go down there. I visit my family down there, and it's like to see things happening to Texas. It's like I know how beautiful it is, even though Texas get a bad rap, races and shit like that. But it's actually a beautiful state.
Right.
It's like a lot of good things are down there, even though it's in the South. But it's just fucked up, man. It's just it's going to be a long ass time before this problem is fixed.
I mean, New Orleans isn't fixed. And Katrina happened in 2012.
Yeah. And I remember it wasn't 2012. Katrina happened way before that. Yeah, because I remember I was working at one job at 2000.
Katrina happened.
Yeah, man.
No.
Katrina was not 2012.
No, 2005. No, I fucked up. Yeah, no.
Yeah, 2005.
Sorry. I've been drinking whiskey. I forgot.
I remember when I was working when that happened, we were talking about the mess with everybody was in the Superdome and shit. My boss was saying some comments, and I was like, "You fucker." But I don't know, man. I remember this one statement, and I know I said this before, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But I took a class with the city for CERT, which now they don't even call it CERT anymore. They call it like New York City Citizens, some shit. And I always get the emails, but I remember the guy saying, man, he was like, "Yeah, after Katrina, we set up a program to make sure that this never happens again." I was like, motherfucker, how many natural disasters have we had already? Like, I always want to meet that guy and be like, what are you doing now? Because he was a captain. He was a firehouse captain who ran a program. But I'm like, man, what are y'all doing now, man? Because we're not, obviously, the infrastructure is not there. And apparently from Trump, we don't even have a head of the FEMA. So it's like, who's running FEMA? It's vacant.
Do we want a head of FEMA, though?
Well, we need somebody. Like, all the conspiracy theories aside, we need FEMA.
I feel like we just need a government who cares.
And like, that's one thing we don't have.
Government's only function should be to make sure that the people that it governs are safe without infringing upon their liberties.
But we don't have that.
So if Florida got decimated by something or Louisiana did, we give as much money as they need.
Yep.
We take that money. We're the richest country in the world. We should have enough money to fix the shit.
We don't.
You fucking live in a city that was destroyed by a hurricane? Okay, we're going to give you the money you need to repair this country. Okay, this other country gets fucked up. This other state gets fucked up. We fix them.
It's all the money's going to war.
We should dial that
billions and billions to war. We need to fight war overseas in the Middle East because they're threatening our liberties. They're threatening our liberties over there in the Middle East. I'm here in New York, motherfucker, and people are suffering.
You know what? I'm here in New York, and people from every country are fine. I get halal food from the guy in the cart. I get Chinese food from the person in the Chinese food store. I get fucking, what's kosher? I get bagels and lox from the guy at the deli. We're all happy. We're all good. We're fine here in New York. We're good. I don't think anybody in New York hates each other. We're annoyed with each other. We don't hate each other.
Yeah.
If some shit pop off in New York, everybody's going to get together and be like, you need to fucking chill.
I remember during the New York blackout. This was a dope moment.
I was fucking in Ecuador when that shit happened.
Yeah, I was
2003?
No, a couple years before. I can't remember if it was before or after.
Yeah, it was after 2000. It was after 9/11.
Yeah, it was definitely after 9/11.
2003.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was before Katrina.
Yeah.
I was in Ecuador. Yeah, Ecuador. I remember.
I was working and I remember.
I only remember because I cried because I couldn't get in touch with my family. And I was like, why? I was like, why doesn't this phone work? And my friend's like, you're in Ecuador. That phone's not even connected to a phone line. I'm like, oh.
I was so I left. I was working 2 jobs. Left one job, went to another job just because it was like I knew people were going to meet there, and I walked with my boss to her place in Brooklyn because I knew I can crash at her place. And no,
just crash. Is that what we're talking about?
No, actually, it's funny because that week
you didn't get in the sugar.
I decided not to drink.
Okay.
Here's a funny story. I decided not to drink.
First bad mistake.
I was like, oh, I want to be healthy. I do that every now and then. I take times off from drinking and try to be straight edge and shit.
I tried that. It was terrible.
And but the funny thing about during the blackout that all the bars in her area was just like they were damn near giving away beer. because they were like, "Yo, the shit's gonna go bad."
Yeah.
So
they can't cool it.
Yo, everybody had candles. They were just like, "We just want to make some type of money," and I was like, "I'm not drinking." I tried to be so fucking stupid, but every bar was just like, "Damn, they're giving it away."
Dollar beers.
So I remember walking over the Brooklyn Bridge. We walked from 23rd Street downtown to crossed over the Brooklyn Bridge, and there was like so many people out there handing out water. You know, for everybody from Hasidic Jews to little hood kids to just like, and I say hood kids because they look like they're from the fucking hood, you know. So, yeah, but you know, people standing on the pillars, just like it was a massive amount of fucking people, like massive.
I'm so glad I wasn't here for that.
Bridge, man.
I'm so glad I wasn't here for that.
You know, being tired and walking through the city, but the good thing was like everybody, you knew where everybody was walking. Everybody was trying to just get home, so it was kind of calm. But just seeing people like handing out bottles of water, I was like, this is dope, man. It's like New Yorkers, we hate each other. We got issues.
But if shit gets real, we'll help each other. Yeah.
New Yorkers will be down and like help each other, man.
You see that a lot too. Like, I've lived here my whole life, and I've lived through 9/11. I saw what it was like. When push comes to shove, and you know, New Yorkers get a bad rap, but like if a tourist asks me for directions, I'm always gonna tell them where to go. We're not all mean, you know. Like, we can be mean. We can be like, get the fuck out the way. You standing in the middle of the street looking up at the sky. I'm trying to get to work. Fuck out my way. But like, if somebody goes like, "Oh, I'm lost. How do I get to?" I'm like, "All right, you go here, and you'll be there." But like, New Yorkers are one of those things where like, if you've lived here for a long time, even if you haven't, like, you need help. I'll get you where you need to go. It's not a big deal. New Yorkers know that the struggle here is real, and we gotta help each other.
This is the longest place I've ever lived in my life.
Good.
Ever.
How long have you been here?
Over 15 years.
Then you're a New
Almost
Yorker.
20.
Usually I say you have to be here at least 10 years for me to consider you a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Because we have so many people coming from out of, especially now with the hipster situation.
People come and go.
Right. I don't consider you a New Yorker unless you've been here for at least 10 years, and you have to have been mugged at least once.
Like I lived in Philly for like 11, in Vegas for like 5, I think.
Damn, son, how old are you?
I'm old, and then I lived around Texas for a few years, El Paso, San Antonio. Then came up to Newark, and then I've been in New York for the longest. Matter of fact, I lived in Brooklyn for a little bit. But
yeah, I remember that giant dog almost killed me. Remember where you lived in the fucking in Bed-Stuy?
Yeah.
And we're moving, and that giant dog put its head through. It fucking shit my pants. That dog was That dog was like the dog from Sandlot. It scared the shit out of me. Yeah. Fuck that dog.
Bed-Stuy.
I love dogs, but fuck that dog in particular. I would shoot that dog in the face. Why is that dog so big? That's not even normal. They cut a hole in their fence for that dog to scare people. That's not even normal. I fell on the floor, and you and your friend laughed at me. You're like, it's fine. I'm like, that dog almost killed me. That's not normal. Fuck that dog. Look like a Triceratops.
And now I'm living in like Harlem.
Yeah.
I love Harlem, man. I'm like, I love Uptown.
Uptown has grown on me. So, you know, I've lived in Brooklyn my whole life. Yeah. I'm a Brooklyn boy. Born in New York, raised in New York City. My whole life, Brooklyn, Flatbush, that's where I'm from. But Uptown has really grown on me. So there's a very famous band from New York City called the Cro-Mags. Yeah. They're a New York City hardcore band. One of the founders, Harley Flanagan. Yes. I read his book. His book's fantastic. Go read it. It's called Harley Flanagan, Cro-Mags Hardcore Life of My Own.
On a podcast.
I want to. I saw him on the train the other day when I was coming out of work.
Think we can?
I think we can make it happen.
That'd be cool.
I gotta talk to him about it. But he lives a couple blocks away from where my girlfriend lives and where I currently live.
It's close.
Like 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to try. So I want to get him on the podcast. And he's a great guy. Super nice. Yeah. Awesome. He's more New York than me because he was in New York City in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. He was, listen, if you don't know who he is, go Google him. You'll find out. He's a great guy. Super sweet. Every time I've seen him, he's been great. Great guy. He's the kind of guy that you want to talk to understand what New York City was like before the hipsters moved in, before the yuppies, whatever. But like, Uptown, the reason why I bring him up is because he lives uptown now. And when I spoke to him last, he said, I live up here because it reminds me of what New York was like back in the day. Because uptown, past 145th, 145th and up, 145th is getting gentrified. And even 125th is getting pretty bad.
Fucking Columbia, man.
Right. But
they bought all the property.
You go up past 145th, and it's still, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, black. For now. Yeah. But you go up to 200th Street, Dykeman, it's all Dominicans. Middle of the night, you hear like gunshots, you hear loud music, you got big booties, you got tight dresses. You don't know what's gonna happen. It's a great place. Come visit us, but don't stay.
Great food.
Good food, music, culture. It's the culture. You go outside and you got the guy playing dominoes. You got the people playing music out of their car. It's kind of annoying, but whatever.
It is what it is.
You deal with it.
Yeah.
In my back when I was growing up in Brooklyn, you had the guy who hung outside your building and played loud Spanish music outside his, and you just dealt with it. You learned to fall asleep with the loud music. Nowadays, you do that and people get all upset, and they call the cops. And listen,
fucking complain.
You're not from this neighborhood.
Spike Lee had some shit years ago.
Yeah,
man.
If you're complaining about Mr. Softy going through your neighborhood, I'm gonna bitch smack you.
Yo, in Fort Greene Park.
How dare you?
In Fort Greene Park, I don't believe it's there anymore. But there used to be this thing every Sunday, like in the summer. They used to do it in the summer, but it'd be like a house party, like real house, not like that EDM house music, like real soulful Detroit house music type of shit, where people would be dancing in the park, And it was like a tradition in Brooklyn, and they always did it at Fort Greene Park for certain hours, and then of course, as it got more gentrified, people started complaining about this shit that's going on in the park. And this was one of the like the cultural things about Brooklyn that was going on at the time. And I lived in Bed-Stuy, but I was like on the edge of Bushwick, Williamsburg, and I was close to Fort Greene. So I was like right in the heart of like all this stuff.
You were in a good place, actually. I like your apartment. I like your place.
Not a good place with a fucking train.
No.
The G train?
Yeah. No, now it's good. Now I take the G train all the time and it's fantastic.
Fuck.
Now it's fucking now it's great.
It was like 1 an hour.
No, now it's every 25 minutes it shows up.
Man.
Which still kind of sucks, but whatever. Yeah. That's a different topic.
But Spike Lee, he went. I remember he did a thing at and forgive me if I'm getting.
Is this about the garbage pickup?
No. This was different. I think that. Forgive me again if I get all the details wrong. But he did a talk at Pratt, which is the art school down there in Brooklyn. Which is a cool art school. And they got a dope art store, by the way. I used to go there. I used to shop there all the time. Tons of that area was just like that was a good area. A lot of food too.
Yep.
So anyways, he did this talk about how people are coming in and ruining Brooklyn. So the kids from Pratt went to his studio, the 40 Acres and the Mule studio down there on I think it was Lafayette, and they TP'd outside his fucking toilet paper TP'd outside his place. It's like fuck, man, because they didn't like what he was saying. But he was like, yo, you're coming in here and you're ruining Brooklyn.
You're a guest.
Appreciating Brooklyn for what it is. And now,
let me tell you something.
Those events are no longer going on at the park. You go to the park now, what do you see? People with strollers and kids and all this family bullshit. And I'm like, that's cool, but you got rid of the culture which brung you here. That culture that brung you to Brooklyn in the fucking first place, man.
Let me say something. I'm not a huge fan of Spike Lee.
Who's not?
I think he's good. I think he's a good director. I think he had
his movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. But that being said, I think he's a fantastic sponsor of Brooklyn.
Of course, yes.
So he said something that made a lot of sense to me. And he was like, back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, garbage would pile up. Nobody would come fucking pick up the garbage. All this shit, blah, blah. He's like, Brooklyn would fucking stink. Prospect Park would stink, full of junkies. Nothing happened. He goes, white people start moving into Park Slope. All of a sudden, you got regular garbage pickup, all this shit. He goes, what happened to the people who were here? The reason why you people move here is because we created a culture of artists and creators. And that's why we moved here, because we had a place that you could come and we never were judgmental. If you were black and you had a place and you created art, if somebody who was white came in, you accepted them and you were like, here's what I'm doing, take a look. Now that they control the whole area, they want to change it.
There's no people of color making art.
They want to pretend like the culture's still there, but it's not.
I had a...
Sorry. a quick aside. If you're white and you were born in Brooklyn, and you raised in Brooklyn, this isn't about you. This isn't. If you're my age and whatever, this is about people who are from outside Brooklyn, who've moved in because of the quote unquote culture of Brooklyn. Yeah. But now you don't want the Mr. Softy ringing its bell, like its jingle. That probably makes me there's two things that piss me off.
I haven't heard that motherfucker all year.
Right. I heard them very sparsely, but there's two things that bothers me. You move into Brooklyn and you hear Mr. Softy and you complain, get the fuck out. Yeah. That has been Mr. Softy has been a staple in Brooklyn and New York
fucking kids
since before you even came out of your dad's ball sack. Number two, for those of you who are moving into Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, Williamsburg, if you complain, especially for those people who live by Graham Avenue, by Woodhull Hospital, if you complain about any Hispanic store that's playing music, you need to leave, because let me explain to you why you're in that area. You're in that area because you can't afford to live in Williamsburg proper. So you've moved to Bed-Stuy and you moved to Bushwick because you, as a white person, are unable to afford living in a already gentrified area. You do not have a right to move into Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, and tell Hispanic people who have been there during the crack epidemic, the AIDS epidemic, that they aren't allowed to play their music at their bodegas, at their discount shops, at Fat Albert, at any place in that area. You are not allowed to. Okay, you are a guest. Go back to your farm in Wisconsin. Go back to your farm in fucking Michigan.
Grow your fucking beards.
Go to Ohio. Go to California, Dakota, wherever you're from. If you're going to complain about the people who have been there since the 70s, you're not welcome. You're not welcome here. Okay? Either if you move into a neighborhood, you have to accept the people who are already there. Be friendly. All you have to do is be friendly and accept where you live.
Yep.
And if you don't like where you live, move. Because the reason why you move there is because the people who create the environment for you. Because I guarantee you, no matter what color you are, if you move into a Spanish neighborhood, people nowadays will accept you.
I love the Heights when I lived in the Heights.
They're like, oh, look at this white person. This is great. How are you doing today? Oh, you don't like our music? You're going to call the cops on us? Fuck your mother. Like,
I remember when I first,
it's crazy.
When I moved up to 172nd.
It makes me so mad.
Before I moved to Harlem, I lived in 172nd, right?
I remember,
up there for like 3 months. And the vibe that I got
Why was it so quick?
No comment. The vibe that I got when I was up there was so much welcoming than when I was in Brooklyn. I thought Brooklyn was dope. Don't get me wrong. I thought Brooklyn was like, oh, this is great. Got the Afrocentric shit, got the art shit, got the music shit. But when I was in the Heights, I was like, this is a family, and it was like a family community. But at the same time, they're welcoming, and they had like the food. It was like I can go to any restaurant and be cooked by like somebody's aunt. And like,
right.
God damn, did my grandma cook this shit? like every restaurant.
God damn.
I was like, I'm home.
I'm home. Because you know what it is? That's the food's made with care. The food's made with care.
And it's still like that now. It's still like that now. If I go uptown for brunch or whatever, and it's like, yo, this is I get it. This is a dope vibe. You got somebody like they always give you like the wink, or some older woman be like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, this is good. You know, this is a culture, and I appreciate that. I'm not gonna go up to the Heights and be like, why the fuck don't y'all speak English? I go to a restaurant, somebody speaks to me in Spanish. I'm like,
do your best. Just do your best.
I'm like, hey,
point at what you want.
Let's make it work.
Right. You know, and I feel like New Yorkers in general will do that. Like if you've been here long enough and you go to a restaurant where they don't speak your language, you just point at what you want.
Yes.
And they'll
just
get
like
it.
If I'm traveling.
Right.
You know?
And it's just so sad. I don't know. I love Brooklyn, and I wish it would be the way it was. Granted, there was a lot of bad things associated with Brooklyn.
Yeah,
it was a bad place for a long time.
Yeah.
And I get that, but I grew up in Brooklyn in the 90s, where it was the in-between phase. It was somewhat dangerous. Like my neighborhood was still Flatbush was still a little shady, but it was good. Like all the kids that I grew up with for the majority of the time are still alive. It's not like anything bad happened, but you know, now it's fine. People are whatever, but just the change that I see in Brooklyn itself is not, I don't know. It's just the type of people that live there. I've seen people now that are like all about Brooklyn and Brooklyn this. They get Brooklyn tattoos, blah, blah, blah. They're not from Brooklyn. They haven't lived there for like more than 10 years. And they want to pretend like they're there for something special. And really what it's come down to is that living in Brooklyn has become a status symbol. And I don't know why, but like, I don't know. Back in the day, living in Manhattan, living in like Midtown was a status symbol. Now, if you're able to afford a place in Brooklyn, that's a status symbol. And it's weird, man. I don't know. Like, I saw a guy today, he had a bag that said Brooklyn, and it was like all graffitied up, and it was like, but like I look at him, and it's a tote bag, and that for one tells me something. Yeah. But I look at him, and he's like a skinny dude with rolled up jeans to like his mid calf. He's got really shitty tattoos, and I'm like, man, get out of my face. Like, you're not from here. Like, I know I can look at you. For the most part, I try not to be judgmental, but when I see somebody repping Brooklyn so hard, and I look at them, and I'm like, are you from Brooklyn? You're not. I can tell you're not. Yeah. By a multitude of things, I can tell you're not from Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, and I try my best not to hate on people because it doesn't do anything good. But if you're going to pretend like you're here, just fucking be from here. Just at least try to be as authentic as possible. Don't be pretentious. Don't be a douche. Brooklyn is known for its culture of inclusivity. And while it may sound like I'm not being inclusive, it's because the people who have moved into Brooklyn have changed what it meant to be from Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Harlem. And it's like right now, like I've been in Harlem for about, I think I lived here for 6 years. And like I said, I believe this is like the longest place I've ever stayed in consistently for like 6 years of my life. And I've been noticing that, you know, for a while now, the Harlem art scene has been blooming. It's been growing more and more, which is something I appreciate. You know, there's more galleries, like legit galleries opening up. There's more opportunities for artists coming around. There's more murals. There's more art stores. You know, we're even going to get a Blix art store. Which is like, if y'all know what Blix is, it's like one of the biggest art stores in America. You know, they're going to open up on 125th Street across from the Apollo Theater soon, which is I'm really looking forward to. You know, and Columbia is investing in the arts in Harlem. They have a gallery open up on 125th Street as well, more towards the Hudson River, and they're only featuring artists from Uptown. You know, and all these things are going on, and I'm like, okay, I appreciate the fact that you have people moving to Harlem, and you have gentrification going on, which can be good and bad, but at the same time, you have these people, these outside, I guess outside and local people investing in Harlem to keep Harlem and Uptown strong, you know, by encouraging people who are residents of the area to continue to promote the community. You know, it's like I think about the art scene when I was in Brooklyn. I see how the art scene is there, and I look at the art scene in Harlem. I'm like, yo, a lot of stuff is going on. Yeah, you know, it's opening up. I'm really looking forward to like Blix opening up on 125th.
It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good art store. You know, it's like
I just hope it doesn't change. Like, I mean, you see how Harlem's changing with Columbia and all that. Well, I hope it just doesn't change for the worse. I don't mind change as long as it keeps an authentic feel to what it was. All
right, so I was at a bar last night. As I've said, I was drinking with my girlfriend's brother, and at the bar I met this guy. He was just random, you know, guy, and we were talking about art. So he was saying that because Columbia opened up an art gallery, a nice art gallery over there by Dinosaur Barbecue. Mm-hmm. So it's like a little ways down on 125th towards the river, but it's a nice gallery, and you see a great view of the river. You see a great view of the city, right? But they're only showing Uptown artists. Period. They're only showing artists from like 110th all the way up to Dykeman. Mm-hmm. They're not showing anybody else, no outsider artists. Everybody's local. And it's a nice gallery. It's a really nice gallery. Like high class, all this shit, right? So I hope to be in there one day. But the guy was telling me, and I forgot his name, but we were talking. He was like, yeah. He's like, but they had to build that. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, Columbia bought up all these buildings for a lot of money. Yeah. But he was like, in order to get all the buildings, they had to pay off a lot of people. In a way they paid off a lot of people was that they donated millions of dollars to like such neighborhood funds and all
Good.
these charities
Good.
and all this shit. But really, the money didn't go to the charities.
What do you mean? Where to go?
Who knows?
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's like a lot of people took the money and ran. He's like, that's the problem. He's like, there's a lot of galleries and a lot of places opening up because Colombia, they bought up a lot of property.
Yeah, they own all of
That's
uptown,
why,
pretty much.
that's why you see like a big rampant rejuvenation of like 104th Street and up, especially because of Colombia bought up all this shit. But he was saying like, yeah, man, he's like, they put all this money into these buildings for their students, which is great for the university. But at the same time, he's like, what are they doing for the community? Now they gave money, but the money didn't go into the community. It should have went into the community, but it didn't. These politicians took the money and fucking ran.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah. I don't know if it's true, but that's just what we were talking about.
Well, that's something
you know?
to look into for sure.
Yeah.
What
It
else?
had me thinking, Had me thinking about a lot.
Well, that could be a whole podcast on itself.
Yeah.
The art community in Uptown and in New York in general.
It's definitely growing.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it is. We need some art stuff up on Dyckman Street, up on 200th Dyckman.
Get your shit ready, man.
Yeah.
Start cementing the galleries.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah. Do it.
Eventually, we'll see what happens.
Fuck that.
What else? What else we got? Anything else?
Oh, that means he's time to go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Chico and the Grin. This was episode number 7.
Yes.
Once again, we'd like to remind you that we are on all social medias. Facebook, the main ones.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yep.
If you'd like to reach us on any of those platforms, you can find us at Chico and the Grin. If you'd like to write into our podcast, share your opinion, whether you like us or you don't, or if you have some ideas, if you want to correct us, whatever you like, you can reach us at chicoandthegrin@gmail.com. We'd be happy to read your emails on the air, or if you're not, just respond. That's fine too. Any closing words, Chico? Grin, rather?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you again with episode 8 in about 2 weeks.
Peace.
Bye.